that I was hearing word from Holland that Feyenoord are seriously interested in Manny Fernandez to the extent that they've put him onto a list of 6 potential targets from all across Europe they're looking at to bolster their defensive options for next season. I think that John McGlynn let the cat out the bag that they had somebody at Falkirk 10 days ago, a fortnight ago, for that league game that Rangers come back from 2-0 down to win at 6-3. What's really interesting, what's come to light is that Dick Advocaat, former Rangers manager, obviously, has joined on a sort of a consultancy basis, part-time basis, but a very high level. Feyenoord over the last few weeks. He's working very closely with the manager there, Robin van Persie, in terms of drawing up a kind of major rebuild for next season. I think that Dick Advocaat's quite hands-on with it. And so ultimately, you know, Arsenal are credited with showing an interest as well. Some big clubs now starting to circle Manny Fernandez. But ultimately, Dick Advocaat, I mean, how ironic would that be? 1998, he first washed up in Scottish football at Rangers, and now he could play a significant part in this if he's part of the decision-making process and they decide to make a serious offer for Manny Fernandez, because you do think it's going to have to be big for Rangers to even entertain the idea of selling this guy. He's 24. He's only really had half a season because he struggled to force his way into the starting lineup over the first part of the season. I think it's going to have to be a big bid in order for Rangers to see any sense in it, given that I think it's a stick on that Peterborough will have a massive percentage of the sell on. That's the way they do their business. So I think for it to make sense to Rangers, it's going to have to be really, really big. And it looks at this point as if, you know, Feyenoord are certainly one of the clubs that could be at the table in the next few weeks.
Ryan, I don't know about you, but I think he's going to make Rangers a fortune. I really do. I think he's got everything.
No, I think he's a good player. I also think, being young, he's got mistakes in him. I've seen him a couple of times, and he's had a few mistakes in him, but ultimately he's a very good young prospect. But I mean, money nowadays is crazy, obviously. So how much is a big offer? And where do they pluck the numbers from? Because as I said, obviously people pluck numbers out of the sky, and you see players moving for crazy money, which maybe 5-10 years ago you would think he's nowhere near that value.
I think it may be north of 10 for a kick-off, Ryan, and that's probably conservative. That's if you've, I think Rangers paid in the region of 3 and a bit, 3.5 maybe, to get him last summer.
I think 10 million for as good as he is. I think 10 million is insanity. Like,
way too much.
I know it's. Well, listen. Do you know what? I know it's the market and it's the value just now, the way things are. I just think 10 million pounds for a player that's 24, played half a season. But it boggles my head. But I do also understand that is today's market.
Well, I actually think, Ryan, when you look at it, that Rangers, I'm saying 10 might get you an invite to the table. But I think Rangers, having sold Calvin Bassey, done something similar now. Obviously, Calvin Bassey was I think his progression was a little bit further by the time that he went to Ajax. But the numbers involved in that were crazy, weren't it? That was 25. I think Rangers might be looking at Manny Fernandez right now as a player that might achieve something similar in the transfer market.
Yeah, so, I get it. I do get it. I understand it. I just think 10 million is a lot of money. Like, but as I said, the market nowadays, and we see players moving for massive amounts of money, in fees and in wages. So, yeah, I think if they come in with that money, I'd be pretty sure that the player would want to leave as well. As it'd be a big move for him.
Mm-hmm.
Are you having him, Tom? Do you rate him as a player?
Yeah, I do rate him as a player, but 10 million, I think you're biting your hand off. I mean, you're comparing him a wee bit to Calvin Bassey there, but remember, Calvin Bassey was in part of a team that got to a European final.
Oh, of course, Tom.
Part of a team, you know, that won a league, won a championship, and and really, really impressed in Europe. You know,
Aye.
Fernandez is, I don't even know if he was in the team when Rangers were playing in Europe. So, and they were obviously the Champions League. They get battered in the qualifier, and then they finish near the bottom of the Europa League. So,
Yeah.
£10 million. I agree with Ryan. I think that's a lot of money for him.
This is the interesting bit, though, guys. I'm saying because they've paid 3 and a bit for him in the first place, because Peterborough will have a significant sell-on fee attached to that deal. I don't think that Rangers they'd see much financial sense in inviting anybody in for a chat about it if it wasn't a minimum of 10. And then I also think that they'll be looking at him a year down the line and thinking that they could then start to look at a bigger figure.
How much would Peterborough's sell-on fee be, do you think?
I don't know the details of it, Steve. I've not seen the contract, but I do know that Barry Fry down there is a hard man. He drives a hard bargain, and in order for them to do that deal in the first place, they'll have themselves well protected. That's
so you would think
well, what they do is it's usually a percentage of the profit,
right?
Isn't it? So, say Rangers, let's say for argument's sake, Rangers get £10 million for him. Then Peterborough will have a clause in that contract that means that they get a percentage of the profit. So that'd be a percentage of the 6.5. Yeah. Now, whether that's a 10%, 15%, who knows? But in order for Rangers to entertain offers this summer, I think it's going to have to be a sum of around that to get them interested.